Hey everyone, welcome back to today. Today's day 3, angle applications. On today's video, there's quite a few times I'm going to ask you to pause and give the problem a try on your own and then come back and check it. So number 1, it says find all variables and each angle's measure. Explain why for each equation that we set up. So looking at this diagram, what is a relationship you see? So when I look at this diagram, I see two relationships. I see vertical angles here, and then I see two different pairs of supplementary angles. And it doesn't matter which way you go with the supplementary angles, but the pair I see make this line right here, here. So I'm going to use those two facts to write equations. So the first equation I'm going to write is using my vertical angles. And that equation is going to be x plus 90 equals 4x. And that's because the vertical angles are congruent. So I can easily solve that by subtracting x from each side. I get 90 equals 3x. Then divide both sides by 3. And I get 30 equals x. Once I know 30 equals x, I can find both pairs of those angles that I circled in blue. So on the right here, it's 40 times 30 equals 120. And then I know the vertical angles are always congruent. So this other side also has to equal 120, but I can check that easily by doing 30 plus 90. So now if I look at my pink angles, I said my pink angles are supplementary. So supplementary means that they add together to be 180. So it's x plus 90 plus x plus 2y equals 180. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 30 that I found in the first part and substitute it in for all my x's. So that becomes 30 plus 90 plus 30 plus 2y equals 180. So 30 plus 90 is 120, plus 30 is 150, plus 2y equals 180. I subtract 150 from both sides, and I get 2y equals 30. Divide both sides by 2, and y equals 15. And I'm not done with this problem because it says to find all the variables and each angle measure. So I found the blue ones, so now I got to find this missing pink one down here. So that's going to be 30 in for x plus 2 times 15 in for y, which would be 60. Now on to number 2. Number 2 says two angles are complementary and the degree measure of the smaller angle is 50 less than the degree measure of the larger. Okay, so complementary means that something plus something equals 90 because complementary angles always add together to be 90. Then this says the degree and measure of the smaller is 50 less than the larger. So that means I'm going to say x equals the larger and x minus 50 equals the smaller. And then I substitute those in. So x plus x minus 50 equals 90. That's 2x minus 50 equals 90. Add 50 to both sides. And 2x equals 140. Divide by 2. And x equals 70. And x is the larger, so that's my answer. Now I want you to pause and I want you to try the next one on your own, but I will give you a hint before you start. Whenever things are in ratio 7 to 2, that means we're going to do 7x and 2x. So pause and give this one a try. Okay, so I tried that problem. So I gave you the hint that when it says two angles are in ratio 7 to 2, it's going to be 7x and 2x. It tells me that the angles are supplementary. Supplementary means two angles added together equals 180. So my equation is 7x plus 2x equals 180. 7x and 2x is 9x. Divide by 9, x equals 20. I then find the two angles by substituting. So it's 7 times 20 equals 140, and 2 times 20 equals 40. So now we're going to look at these diagrams and see what conclusions we can draw. So if I'm looking at this diagram here, name two pairs of angles I can conclude are congruent. Well, to start with, I know 1 and 2 are congruent because they are labeled congruent. And then I also know a couple other angles. So if I extend my lines here, actually, I can see that 4 and 1 are labeled or on opposite sides of vertical angles. So those are also congruent. Then I need to name a linear pair. Remember, pair only means two. You put on a pair of shoes. So I'm looking for things that make a straight line. So if I extend this, the top part is actually 3 angles, which isn't a pair. However, the bottom of that line is 2 angles. So 1 and angle 5 are a linear pair. Now, if I look at that pink line there that I'm going to make darker, to this side I have 3, but over here again I have 2, so that would be 4 and angle 5. Number 5, here I want to decide, are angles 1 and 4 complementary? Well, nothing in this diagram is labeled 1 and 4. So let me label some things. Let's start here and do 1, 2, 3, 4. So based on how I just labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, are 1 and 4 complementary? And the answer is no. They do not make a right angle. Name two pairs of supplementary angles. So supplementary means they make a straight line. So if I'm doing supplementary, I don't really have a pair of supplementary angles that are numbered. However, if I use my letters for my names, I know that LPQ is a straight line. So that means that angle MPL, which is up here, is number 1, and then MPQ would also be supplementary, I can also find more pairs if I do NPL and NPQ. There's one more pair that I want you to find. Now name a pair of adjacent angles. So the angle pairs I did for supplementary are also adjacent, but they don't have to be supplementary to be adjacent. I could say that angles 1 and angle 2 are adjacent because adjacent just means next to each other. I could say angle 2 and angle 3. And then there's one more pair of numbered that I want you to try to label. So the two things I left you to label, I want you to answer in the Edpuzzle. Number 6 says if BFE and AFD intersect. As soon as I read that, I'm going to draw it. So that means I have a line that's BFE, and I have another line that's AFD. Then it says BFA is 3x plus 12, and DFE is negative 8x plus 210. So the question is, how is BFA and DFE related? Hopefully you came up with that they are vertical angles. And vertical angles are congruent. So I'm going to say 3x plus 12 is equal to negative 8x plus 210. I solved that by adding 8x to both sides. I get 11x plus 12 equals 210. I subtract 12 from both sides. I get 11x equals 198. Divide both sides by 11, and x equals 18. Once I know x equals 18, to find AFE, I'm going to find BFA first. Measure of BFA is 3 times 18 plus 12 is 66. And then AFE is 180 minus 66, which is 114. So that was our video. We're going to do more practice problems tomorrow in class. If you have any questions on any of these, please bring them to class.